What is up, you beautiful happy hustlers out there? Kerry Jack here, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. I am super excited about this episode of the Happy Hustle podcast with Mr. Stephen Scoggins because he is a multi-million-dollar serial entrepreneur, best-selling author, and creator of Transformmu, and the host of the Stuck to Unstoppable podcast. He empowers people to take authority over their lives by teaching them how to bring their highest aspirations into reality. Stephen takes his 43 years of setbacks, failures, breakdowns, losses, successes, and comebacks and transparently uses them to provide simple yet effective step-by-step exercises to help anyone break their limitations. You guys are going to love this episode with Stephen. Now, when you do, shout him out. Check him out online at stephenscoggins.com. But I really enjoy Stephen. He's got great energy, and you'll see why. All right, now let's dive in. And real quick, guys, I just want to give a huge shout out to this episode's sponsor, Nootopia, who is making the best brain optimizing supplements in the game. You can go to nootopia.com/happy hustle. Save yourself some money, get some brain optimizing nootropic supplements, and check it out. Good. All right, Stephen Scoggins, welcome to the Happy Hustle podcast, my man. I am super excited to connect.
Yeah, dude, man, it's been a long time, man. I'm ready to rock and roll with you. Let's go. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, man. I mean, I did the intro already, but just for those people out there, like Stephen is truly one of my favorite humans. And I don't say that lightly. Like, I know we spent some good time together in North Carolina, and it really was just so evident your heart and how you show up in the world and how many people actually, feel the love from you. And you're a serial entrepreneur. You're the host of, Stuck to Unstoppable podcast. You're, an author. You have so much going on. But one thing that I was truly impressed with was just your heart and how you give it so freely.
Thanks,
so I just wanted to mention that. Now, Stephen, before we get into all that good stuff about your business and everything you're up to in the world, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Interesting. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm pretty boring, to be honest with you. Let's see. Interesting. What could be interesting? Oh, I'm a Wolverine fanatic. I think that's pretty interesting, right? The comics, Hugh Jackman, I love him to death. But he's 6 foot something or other. And the real Wolverine in the comics was 5 foot something, 5 foot burly and, stocky, kind of a little bit like me. So me and Wolverine were buddies for sure.
Love it. That's great. He's a beast, that Wolverine. I mean,
Yeah.
Definitely awesome superhero. Well, cool, man. Well, let's dive in. Give us a little backstory. I mean, tell us kind of what got you into the entrepreneurship game and how'd you, come to really host these amazing events and this awesome podcast and be connected with so many, rock star entrepreneurs. Like, just give us a little backstory.
Oh gosh. I'll give you the short story because we could literally do like 7 podcasts on my weird life, like Forrest Gump. His mom always taught me, was it stupid is, it stupid does. And, for me, I grew up in a difficult environment. Bounced around from my parents who got divorced and lived with my grandmother. Grandmother then passed away, then lived with my dad, got into construction. Dad struggled with alcohol and a few other things. That's when I met my first mentor, Steve Myrick, who ultimately started me on a course of changing my life. It took me some time to get there. Unfortunately, I betrayed Steve. He gave me everything I needed to start my first business. And I betrayed him in that I got super successful, super fast at 19 years old. And like any other person in the world, that when their character is not the same caliber as their opportunity, you tend to get crushed under the character. So I did that, lost everything, all the way to the point of being homeless for a little while, and was forced to literally under the stars one night hear Steve Myrick's voice in my head. And it was like, you have to be willing to do today what others don't, so you can have tomorrow what others won't. And I remember in that moment being like, what the heck have I allowed myself to get into? How the hell did I get here? What am I doing? Like that kind of stuff. And that began to shake me out. And then I went to a public restroom and I stared at myself in the mirror and just started breaking down crying. And I realized that I was the problem, but more importantly, I was also the solution. And I went to work. I found my faith within a few days after that. And within a few days after that, Steve gave me a second chance and built my first business out of the trash pile. So when you ask the question, how'd you get into entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
Easy answer, necessity.
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice. Ironically, like 5 or 6 years later, we discovered that through one of those strengths finder tool things that you see, it's like, this is what you're good at. This is what you're not good at, kind of thing. If I'd have been anything other than an entrepreneur, I would have probably stayed homeless, to be honest with you. So, I love what business is. I love what it does. I love how it requires you to become better at being you in order to scale a business or a team or whatever. In fact, I actually discovered that one of the greatest mistakes that I ever made in business, and this is something to write down, so hopefully your listeners appreciate this. The greatest mistake I ever made in building a business was not building myself first. Because what happened was my business, even the second attempt, outpaced my growth, which means I became a less, successful leader, right? I was more of a boss, more of a point your finger at your face, you're doing it wrong kind of mentality, like do it my way, gritty, driving, pushing, like super defensive. And it wasn't that long after that, that I had a wake up call with another mentor of mine that is obviously has a huge national brand. Went to one of his conferences and proceeded to get my teeth kicked in for 3 days in a row on leadership. And I was like, if you're not doing this, you're not a leader, and this has got to be you. And I'm like, oh, I suck. Right. And that was my wake up call, man. And then, from there, I started working on me, and lo and behold, the company started quadrupling literally year after year after year for probably 5 years in a row. My largest company is doing really well. We're well into the 8 figures, and, got a few hundred team members. And then, I got to the point where they were doing amazing things all themselves. In other words, I've got a great executive team. I got a great team in general, and they know I love them. They know I care about them. They know I want to see them win. And I started having this burning desire in my heart to go out there and start making a bigger difference in the world, which I know that you talk about a whole lot. It's not just like, hey, go out and hustle and hustle and grind and grind and hustle and hustle and grind. You're like, why are you hustling and grinding kind of thing? And, I found my, what I mentioned in the Transformmu this past week was there was this moment where I found my voice. And I believe that we all have that inner voice, and we all have to give ourselves the power to use and utilize that inner voice. And as a result, I started coaching and speaking and writing. And next thing you know, I just do my thing. I go out there and I try to help people. And, it's funny about when you go out to help somebody, they tell their friends that you help them. And then they're like, hey, can you help me? And then, that's your scalable model, is how, it's help one and then you'll help many. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my 2 cents. I don't know if that's too short of a story, but if I told you the whole story, it would take a while.
No, man, that's great. I mean, I love that you just had the mindset of service over self, and that's what ripples, people need help. And that's what really business comes down to, is helping others solve their problems. And you figured out a way to do that in the construction arena, in personal growth and development and entrepreneurship and business and podcasting and speaking. And I know you have a lot of irons in the fire. And one of the questions that comes to mind just, is how do you actually achieve that work-life balance? Because you are so busy, you do have so much going on. And one thing I love to talk about with the Happy Hustle is how you can be happy within the hustle and have that blissful balance. And I'm curious, what does work-life balance look like for you now?
Man, I wish I could tell you that I had that figured out. I'm just going to be, if it's cool with you, I'll just be transparent, honest with everybody, because the reality is I'm still trying to figure out what that is, like trying to balance my calling with my consistency with my home. Right. I'm really good about serving other people. When we do live events, we do it right. Like we change lives, and we make sure people know that you're in the right environment and the right soil, and let's grow, let's go, let's get it done kind of thing. But if I'm honest with myself, occasionally I've had pretty intense times of not being able to replicate that in my own home. And I think for me, one of the things that I've done differently is I've tried to acknowledge that to the people that matter. So when my son says, hey, look, I've been trying to talk to you for 6 months, and like you're like, every time I try to talk to you, you're brain fried. Like you're looking at me like a zombie. And my wife say the same thing. And, you hear that once, twice, eventually it breaks your heart, and you're like, okay, something's got to shift. Something's got to change. So what I've tried to do since then and again, this is a work in progress. So I'm going to be, like I
We
said,
all are. Don't worry.
completely. Yeah. So I'm being completely out there. Is one, I'm going to own it. Number one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to own it. I'm going to own where I'm at in my journey. So where I'm at in my journey right now is I love what I do. I love what I do. I love serving. I love writing. I love speaking. I love coaching. I love teaching. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm not tying my identity or my value to it though. And I think we can easily get to the place where we're tying our identity and value to the thing, right? Or the monetization of the thing to call it success. But I had this interesting realization is like, okay, what does it mean to get all of that stuff and then lose my family in the process? Have my son feel like he's not loved or he's abandoned, or have my wife feel like I don't love her or don't care? Because none of that's true, right? So what I've had to do is I've had to own it. I've had to go to all of my family members before, like my, people in my household specifically, and sit down with my wife and say, you're right. You're right. It's been months since we've done a date night. We need to do a date night like yesterday, and we have to be protective over that. The same is true with my son, right? One of my sons actually works within the Journey Principles Institute. Another one's currently at college. I discovered that my son, who's at college, is a very detailed analytical thinker. And every time he would come and sit down with me, he would be talking to me in my eyes, and my phone goes, bzz, 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 and I would pick it up and look at it. And the moment I did that, he's like, you don't care about me. Right. So I know that when I'm in his presence, I got to put my dinging devices, no matter what they are, because my ADHD brain wants to go, whoa, what was that? What was that? What was that?
Squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. Squirrel, dog, fence. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Right. All together, kind of thing. And I've learned that, I've got to get rid of the dinging. Right.
Yep.
So I own it. Number two, I'm trying to remove the distractions that could come up to eliminate that. I know one of the things that we've talked about is, maybe doing something in the future out in Montana together, some kind of like retreat or hideaway. And
you're coming out, man. We're getting you out in the wilderness.
Yeah, heck yeah. By the way, everybody needs to hear your horse story with you and your dad. By the way, if you haven't shared that, you need to share that on the podcast, or you can watch his amazing performance at Market Movers. That was awesome. You guys got to check that out. But
I appreciate that. Yeah. What he's referencing is his amazing event, Market Movers 2021, that I spoke at, and I got some great footage from. And I'll have to post it soon. I just got it back from Mikey, and it's looking great.
Yeah. So, so own it. Number one. Number two, remove distractions. Number three, plot a new course. And number four, stick to the course. Right. So it's one thing to say, I'm sorry. It's one thing to say, I'll do better. It's another thing entirely to actually follow through with it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's where I'm at in my journey, is I'm in the process of follow through. And follow through builds trust, and non-follow through destroys it. And I think ourselves and our family. Think about it. And our
family. Yeah.
Yeah. You say, I'm sorry enough times, you're like, he said I'm sorry, but he's not sorry at all. Right. Or he said he would take me on a date night, but we still haven't been on a date night 6 months. We went that one time, but it's been 6 months since.
Yeah.
Right. You've got to be intentional. And, those are the things that I'm currently using to try to balance that work-life balance. In the fact that I love what I do. I mean, my wife came to Transformmu this past weekend, and, and outside of there, we had like a little conflict going into the event, because she's watched me spend so much time and energy preparing for the event and getting ready for the event. Now, my heart was to serve.
Yep.
But I'm still her husband. She still deserves my attention. She still deserves my feedback. She still deserves my communication. Right. And when I don't do those things, she has every right to feel frustrated, angry, and abandoned to a certain level. Right. That's not my heart. It's not what I want. Right. So you take all of that, you wrap it up, and then you fix that. I mean, my wife was literally last night giving me brand new ideas on how to scale up this event that, was incredible by itself. It's like, okay, how do we make it better? And she's like, well, I got some ideas. I'm like, all right, rock and roll. Let's go.
Love it. Tell the happy hustlers about Transformmu, your recent event, and who were some of the speakers, and kind of who's it for as well.
Yeah. So Transformmu Live 2021 was going to be our catapult into the future. So it's our signature event. I bring in 13 world-class thought leaders from all over the world with strategic purpose. To teach strategic things in a strategic order, in a strategic way. Okay. The reason I say that is because a lot of conferences that you go to teach you theology, but they don't teach you how to break it apart and utilize the theology. Transformmu Live is designed to be an avenue where you not only learn from the thought leader about like we'll take Tracy Litt, for example, who spoke in depth on fear and how to beat fear and overcome fear. Okay. Well, there's lots of speakers who talk about overcoming fear, but Tracy's the only person I know that actually breaks down how to break down fear.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I try to position myself to bring in thought leaders, that I have personal relationships with, that I believe in. I personally have utilized or listened to their content. I consider them mentors just as much as friends. So, if we take Anthony Trucks, for example, he's the foremost authority right now on identity. Like he really is. Tom Bilyeu, Peak Performance Mindset, Lisa Bilyeu, Peak Performance Wellness, Evan Carmichael, understanding and overcoming, building up, from building away from limiting beliefs and actually getting into believing.
Yep.
Amberly Lago on Grit and Grace. Gosh, there were so many. Mark Drager, Ira Davis on, laying out a dream that is attainable and truly tangible.
Mm.
And ultimately what Transformmu is for is it's for the person who wants a fresh start or a second chance.
Mm.
Both of those things were important aspects in my life. Steve Myrick gave me a second chance I did not deserve. And I swore to myself I would never, ever, ever look back. And as a result, I haven't. And that's where the bulk of what you see has come from. Mm. However, my grandfather in that same time frame gave me a fresh start in regards to my faith specifically, where I had spent quite a bit of time completely disconnected from anything remotely close to the divine in nature, from the basics of prayer and meditation or even being mindful. Like I was a walking zombie, right? These types of things are so inherent and so important to our humanity and, for lack of a better word, sanity, that not having them by definition makes you practically impossible to be resilient. So it's like we teach you how, we show you how, and then we walk with you through the next steps. Mm. And inevitably what happened is in Transformmu Live, you never know who's in the audience, right? In this particular audience, the testimonials start firing in when the thing's over, right?
Yeah.
We know that we saved 2 lives, people who were on the verge of wanting to take their life. We know we've started 3 businesses, people that were on the fence about starting a business, not starting a business. Do they have what it takes to start a business? How do I start a business with nothing? All this kind of stuff. We know that we saved a couple of marriages so far. We know that we had countless people that had massive identity shifts, massive authenticity shifts, which is just as important as an identity shift, because I find that most of the world's frustration is because they're living someone else's life.
Yeah.
And they're living someone else's life because someone else around them says you should be living this life.
Yep.
In other words, they're not creating the life from within and then working it from without. They're letting the life be told to them from without to then try to live it within, which just doesn't make any sense.
Mm.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but
it does.
It's clearly a passion project for me, right?
Yeah. No, well, it's amazing. And, I love just the overarching concept of taking someone's current reality and just transforming it into their dream reality. And, I'm a big proponent of reverse engineering the process and having clear goals and then having support and mentors and then actually, doing the work like step by step. And that's where real shift happens, right? Like Anthony says, where you got to do the work, but you have to know the steps to take. And that's what Stephen's obviously very passionate about. And with Transformmu, where can people go? Can they see a replay?
We are actually working on that because we actually it's funny. We got done with the thing in our virtual audience. It was like, where's the replay? Where's the replay? We want the replay.
Yeah.
Because, it's funny. They said, I spent 3 days, 12 hours a day, glued to my glued to my monitor. Yeah. I don't know. Where's the replay? Right.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the thing. When we do Transformmu Live, we do it right. So it's a full-fledged production. I bring in, I brought in a Nashville recording artist as entertainment.
Yeah.
We have freedom ceremonies. We have all kinds of things to kind of awaken what's special within you. And as a result, we have, I don't know, I think 70 terabytes of content.
Oh my goodness.
Now we do a rough edit while we're actually shooting the entire event. But in the process of that, we're now going through the process of cleaning it up. And as soon as we have it clean, we're going to load it into Transformmu Online. And if you're interested in kind of seeing the replay, which, dude, oh man, sorry, I'm having flashbacks. It's insane in a good way, right? If they're interested in that, they can just go to StephenScoggins.com, click Transformmu Online, and they'll see more of it.
Amazing, man. Well, this is just, I love hearing your passion come through about this event. And, myself facilitating, I don't know how many events. I haven't actually done like a full-fledged online event like you did, but just events in general are so much work. It becomes your baby, and it's
Mhm.
like something you're so deeply immersed in. So I just, give you a tip of the hat and kudos
Thank
for
you.
crushing it and really getting that caliber of speakers. And I'm just, I'm curious about kind of doing a little 180 pivot here for the people out there listening, the happy hustlers who are like, you know, I want to be a thought leader. I want to
Mhm.
be on stage at to transform you, and
Yeah.
I want to have a personal brand business or the power to impact others and inspire and educate. What would you say to the happy hustlers out there listening who want to become thought leaders? Where do you start?
So I would, from my personal perspective, and this is after doing it wrong for a very long time. So when I started my journey, I just started getting out there and talking about whatever came to the top of my head, which was very confusing to people who were following, right? So
Mm,
like today he's talking about entrepreneurship.
yeah.
Yesterday he's talking about mastering his life. Today he's talking about changing his oil. Tomorrow he's talking about building, like it's all over the place, right? I think the number one thing that you have to figure out is you have to be able to look within yourself and figure out what your voice actually is. One of our mutual friends, Rory Vaden, likes to say, you've got to figure out what your uniqueness is and exploit it in the service of others, right?
Yep.
Um, I've been still, even now, I mean, I was talking to Evan Carmichael day before yesterday, and he goes, man, he goes, I know you think you're a limitation artist, meaning you're someone who helps people break through limitations. He goes, here's what I see. I see you're the guy that takes chances on people. He said, all your kids are not biologically yours. You took a chance on them, started developing them, and now literally your daughter is like your daughter. You met her as a single pregnant waitress, right?
Mm,
Um, all the people on my team that are doing things for me, right? You're the guy who takes a chance on the people who are unseen, unheard, undervalued. And one of the things that I look at is, one of the things I also want to do is I want to create a pathway for people to be less obscure, more intentional, and far more focused on what it is they have to offer. So I think step one is get super duper clear on who you need to be or how you need to position that message. And let's be honest, the best people in the business that you and I know are
yep.
Rory and AJ Vaden, right?
Yeah.
You brand builders group, you want to know where to go, how to do it as far as getting super clear on you.
Yeah.
Do that before you decide to start putting yourself out there on a consistent basis. Doesn't mean you can't start building an audience, but before you really start to step out and like trying to produce mini courses and all the different widgets that come with being a thought leader,
Yeah.
because you'll blow a bunch of money
Yeah.
and
You
you'll
will.
confuse everybody, right? So that's step one. Step number two is actually going to be to uncover and build up your visual identity. And I know we don't have time to completely break that down to here, but
Yeah.
if you tell me somebody like Carrie Jack, I love you to death. You send somebody my way, I'm going to pick up the phone. That's just how it works. And we
Yeah.
could talk about how maybe good ways to build up a visual identity. And the third thing is then to start leveraging yourself. And actually, this is the most difficult that I've seen out of thought leaders. And I'm doing this because during the event, Evan Carmichael surprised me on a panel discussion, decided to pull my son up on the panel discussion with me
Oh, wow.
because apparently they've been playing around in the chat for 2 days straight when he did it, puts up on the stage with me. And then my son's like, I want to do what my dad does kind of thing, which of course, like, right on my side.
Yeah.
But he's like, well, okay. He goes, Stephen, what would you tell him to do to get started? I said, where's your phone? And he goes, right here. I said, okay, pull it out. Okay. Okay. Open Instagram. Okay. Swipe the stories. Okay. All right. Record us on stage right now and tell them what you're learning right now. Right. That is the hardest stinking thing, is to pull up your phone. Like, we'll do this for fun.
Just doing a video.
Yeah. We're going to do
Yeah.
it for fun.
Let's
Because
do
we're
it.
going to talk about big things here. Let's see here.
He's busting his phone out for those of you who are just on the
Yeah,
audio
we're busting
version.
the phone out. For those of you guys, Stephen_Scoggins on Instagram, you're going to see this later.
Yeah.
All right. So, here we go. Carrie Jack, Happy Hustler podcast, recording our podcast right now. What's up? So the question is what's the number one thing you could do to start getting yourself out there and doing becoming a thought leader? As Evan Carmichael taught my son during Transformmu Live, the number one thing you can do is exactly what we're doing right now, which is pulling your phone out, taking a chance, putting yourself out there and making it work. Peace.
Amen. Amen to that.
So now we got a story we'll share. And then, this is it.
Yeah.
So figure out who you are, to figure out how you need to be positioned, put your message out there, get to work, and don't give up.
Mic drop. Love it. I mean, and that's really what it comes down to, is getting clear on who you are, who you want to be, what problem you can solve for people, your uniqueness, and then putting yourself out there, doing the work like that. And here's the thing, guys, too, all the happy hustlers, it starts off pretty quiet. You got to be okay with the crickets, where it's like, no one's watching my videos, but that gives you time to find your voice. And that's, like the first, 50 episodes of the Happy Hustle podcast, I know of your show probably weren't nearly as good as what they are now today, but it took that time. It took those reps. It's just like anything worth doing. It takes time. So I love that you went there, man. Now, I do like to ask all my guests a couple different happy hustle hacks in a couple different disciplines. So this is maybe a tip, a tool, a tactic, something in these different areas of life. First, let's talk about health. I know you're big into health. Mm-hmm. What is something that you do, a happy hustle hack, will you, that, you could share with the happy hustlers out there, that's something that helps keep you mentally sharp or physically strong in regards to health?
Yeah. So happy hustler hack number one is going to be put a routine in place that forces you to take action on a daily basis. Okay. I wake up at 5 a.m. pretty much every day, maybe 5:15, maybe. Right. Somewhere in that ballpark. I spend time in gratitude, prayer, and meditation first thing in the morning. I want to ask my creator to bring good people into my life, bring opportunities in my life. Let me be of service to other people on a consistent basis, like open that conduit for the day.
Yep.
And then my next step is I hit the gym, right? Doesn't matter if it's treadmill, doesn't matter if it's weightlifting or whatever, but what's in my earbuds typically is an audiobook, a YouTube clip or something like that that's feeding my mind, my body, and my soul on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. What I've discovered is anytime I don't do those two steps first thing in the morning, the rest of my day is kind of, it just feels off and like a wreck. I feel more stress, more anxiety, more frustration and overwhelm. But when I do those things, it seems like I'm twice as resilient, 3 times as focused, and 4 times as effective. Yeah. So I think happy hustler hack number one is going to be basically put a routine in place that virtually guarantees the action you need to take on a daily basis. Number two, gosh, on the physical side, is going to be to make sure I'm getting cardio exercise and weight training exercise, because too much weight training doesn't help your heart, and too much heart training doesn't make you actually like physically strong.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. I love the routine aspect. Everyone has a different morning routine, but it's important to get those pillars of gratitude and prayer and meditation. And then obviously some type of physical movement, hyperhydration. A lot of people get dehydrated when they're sleeping, and then, make sure you just put good into your brain, so that you are getting that inspiration. So I love that. Let's talk about money. I always like to go there. I think it's very important to look at money as the tool it is. It's a frequency. It makes you more of who you are, I believe. Yeah. What would you say is a happy hustle hack, something that's helped you save or invest or spend wisely that you can share with the happy hustlers in regards to money?
Yeah. Happy hustler hack number one with money is going to be, I use a 3-part framework as it relates to business. I test, I invest, and then I scale. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to test a concept, an idea before I sell the farm and just both feed in and whatever. Okay. If it tests okay, then I'm going to invest more time, talent, resources into making that thing grow. If the investment pays off, now I'm really looking at how do I scale it? How do I actually scale it? In a personal financial situation, it's kind of the same framework, right? It's like, I'm not going to intentionally go out and spend more money than I have. I'm not going to take on a bunch of debt because I don't need anybody owning my life, right? I don't need the Bank of America telling me what I can and can't do, like, how much money I can save or how much money they can take or whatever. And I'm using that loosely. Bank of America, I'm sure you guys are good guys. I bank with a credit union. It's okay, but right? You know what I'm saying? But it's like one of those things. It's like, it's the same process. I'm going to test an environment before I go and invest in crazy ambitions. Like I might test Bitcoin, right? But I'm not gonna just test it for a day or test it for a week or test it for a month. I might test it for a year
Yeah.
before I put more chips in the table towards it,
Yeah.
because I don't know where it's going to land. I mean, there's all kinds of cryptocurrencies like that you could technically choose from, so there's strategy behind it. There's investing, testing, investing, and scaling. And I think if you follow that 3-part framework, you'll be more lucrative than you think you will.
Test, invest, scale. Love it. Crush that. Let's talk about spirituality. Something that helps you tap into a higher power. Maybe your practice or something that I know the happy hustlers out there. It doesn't matter to me what you believe in, whether it's God or Buddha or Allah or whatever. It's just important to me that you have faith, in something bigger than yourself. And so I'm just curious, what's a happy hustle hack in regards to spirituality that you could share?
Yeah. So happy hustle hack number one, spirituality, is going to be one, consistent daily prayer and meditation, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I say prayer, to me, prayer is 2 parts listening, 1 part speaking.
Yep.
Okay. Where I think we go wrong with prayer specifically is we spend 2 parts talking, barely any listening, and the rest is noise, right?
Yeah.
So you have to get yourself to a calm enough state where you can actually, quote unquote, hear the divine. I believe if you're willing to listen out for the divine will talk to you, right? Unctions, words, feelings, whatever, tinglies, like whatever modality. The other thing that I think is a little more unique that I'm weird about is I like to have constant reminders, not idols, not like I'm sitting down and staring at a statue and saying, "Oh, praise be to whatever."
Yeah.
But more of reminders. So this is going to sound silly, but it's something that I do. It's my thing. Is when I speak, you'll always notice I'm wearing white shoes. Okay. And the reason that I'm always wearing the reason I'm always wearing white shoes is it's a reminder to me specifically. It's for me and my connection with God. Okay. So God is my divine power. Saying that I realize you put me here. I realize I have a responsibility to do right by you. Therefore, I give everything over to you. Right. So I wear white shoes to remind myself I'm walking on holy ground. Okay. That's nothing more than a piece of symbolism. Okay. Now, again, it may sound strange and silly to other people, and that's okay. You can find your thing, right? But it's a piece of tangible symbolism that reminds me while I'm like, I have to look at my feet before I walk on stage because I'm typically bouncing around and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It also, I've actually caught it doing this to me when I'm speaking. Sometimes I want to say this phrase, but something in my spirit checks me and said, "Ooh, you're walking on holy ground." And I'll rephrase the phrase before it leaves my mouth.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those are some basic examples. Is like, is it a bracelet? Is it a ring? Is it a necklace? Like, a lot of people wear crosses and stuff. Most people don't have any affiliation to why they're wearing a cross. They just think it looks cool. So that's why they wear it.
Yeah.
But you got to have your thing, right? Some people like Tibetans have prayer beads. I've had prayer beads before. You can use any prayer bead to remind yourself of different things. As kind of a, especially like people like myself, like I'm ADHD. So I got these blocks in my hand I've been playing with the entire time we've been talking.
Yeah.
Right. These types of, they're tangible reminders. So I think open your heart to tangible reminders to keep yourself focused. Cause I think it's easy to get distracted away from a spiritual health that we all need. Right.
Yeah.
The most dysfunctional, destructive people on the planet I see have zero tie to any kind of spiritual lifeline or anchor at all.
Yep.
Right. So whatever that is for them.
Yeah, man. I love that. Have some type of spiritual symbolism for you guys out there listening. And it's really important to have those daily reminders. And then obviously just tap in with prayer, meditation, gratitude. Those are great, man. Now, I do want to run through the rapid fire round with you.
Hope I'm ready.
Yeah. Oh, you're ready, man. This is basically where I ask you random questions and you answer honestly. First things that comes to mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready now.
Okay. Favorite food? Go.
Cheesecake.
Favorite movie?
Passion of the Christ.
Favorite book?
Entree Leadership.
Best business advice?
Build yourself, then build the business.
What's your spirit animal?
Lion.
3 things you're most grateful for?
My wife, my life, and my impact.
if you had one piece of content that was going on a billboard for the world to see, and this was going to be the last thing you ever created, what's that billboard read?
You can do it.
What was your first hustle? First thing you did for money?
Oh gosh, sold candy in high school.
Love it. Dude, you crushed that rapid fire round. Man, that was impressive. I love it. Stephen, where can people go to find out more about you, to learn out what you're up to? Give us some links.
Man, if people want to stay connected, I would love to have maybe a follow or something on Instagram or Facebook. You can find me at Stephen_Scoggins on Instagram, just my name on Facebook. And then if you want more information, free mini courses or free ebooks, stuff like that, you can go to StephenScoggins.com.
Love it, man. And Stephen, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you, brother. I just appreciate you for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom with the Happy Hustlers and me. And it's just been awesome getting to know you better and better. And looking forward to our mutual synergies and collabs in the future. So appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, likewise, dude. Love you, man. Love everything you're doing. Love your dude. You have a bright light around you. And when you're around Carrie Jack, especially in person, guys, like you just feel like you're like somehow standing inside the sun. Like it's amazing. But you're not getting burned. You're just getting bright. That's all.
Oh, I love it, man. Hey, appreciate that and receive it. So thank you, man. So I do want to give you an opportunity to say any final words to the Happy Hustlers out there before I ask you the last question.
Yeah. Final words. No matter what you're facing, no matter where you've been through, no matter what you think your mountain is, it's not over and you can do it. Stick with it. It'll work out.
Love it. Now, final question. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Man, happy hustler means making your impact while also taking care of your family and leaving a legacy that outlives you.
Boom. Stephen Scoggins. Mic drop, everyone. Thanks for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love.